So, guys, I never thought I'd be talking about this again. But it looks like we're going to talk about Scalebound and whether or not Microsoft might be actually bringing this IP back to life. Let's have a backstory. All right, let's have a backstory. Sit down. Let's talk about this. Scalebound was originally one of the Xbox One games that a lot of people anticipated. Whether or not it was genuine or not is up for debate. I do feel like some people was, kind of overhyping that game just because it was the first type of game like that. Platinum Games was finally working with Xbox, and I do feel like that attributed a little bit to the hype, and it wasn't genuine. But I do think there was a lot of people that was excited about Scalebound. Well, what ended up happening is Scalebound got canceled. And I remember the day it happened. I actually have a video on the channel when Scalebound got canceled. It was a huge day. I remember them being a lot of videos, a lot of talk on Twitter. That was a huge thing. Microsoft canceled a lot of things in the Xbox One generation. That's why bringing Fable back was such a big deal, because they canceled Fable Legends and they canned the original studio that made Fable, Lionhead Studio. So a lot of people just assumed, Scalebound's gone. But then Nick over there at Xbox Era, he has decided to open the trenches, would you say, and make a rumor about them potentially actually going through and doing this. So what we'll do is we'll launch over here a little bit, and we'll actually listen to what was said during the actual podcast. It was on his last pod. I'll put it in the description below so you guys can actually see what I'm referring to. But we'll go ahead and talk about it. Let me switch over to it, man. So here it is. Here is the video that everything blew up on. And here is the podcast that was rumored for this Scalebound to come back. Look, we'll get to whether or not I think Scalebound's coming back, but I'm going to let you listen to a little bit of information that's on this. So let's get that going right now.
That's what all Platinum Games is up to. So yeah. So what I've also been told, a little rumor I've heard, is that Platinum might also be working with Xbox to try and bring. Now look, it's very, very. It's early. Like we're talking very, very early now.
Very, very early, guys.
Told that Platinum is working with Xbox again to look at bringing back Scalebound.
He said it.
Now,
he said it out loud. He said it out loud. They can't put the genie back in the bottle. Oh my god.
What? I don't know.
All right, so you guys heard that. He came out and said that he's heard that Scalebound, Platinum Games, and Xbox, they're working together to rebrand that, to bring it back. Now, I do know that Scalebound, we've seen a lot of gameplay for it. At Gamescom, we saw it at E3. We saw some co-op experience going on with that game. So I would say that it would be a game that has enough, maybe, assets going around that it could potentially be brought back. But the question is Microsoft willing to work with a company that didn't work out so well the first time? I think that's up in the air. I don't know if that's something Microsoft or Xbox would do. Now, there is some caveat to this that I think that would make it a little bit more genuine. If they're trying to correct some mistakes and maybe Platinum Games have come out and just formally told them, look, it was our fault. We do think that we should work on this. I do know that in the past, the people who over there at Platinum Games, they've said on Twitter multiple times that they would want to redo this. So part of me feels like that's not the case. I don't feel like even if they wanted to work for it, I don't know if Microsoft and Xbox would greenlit this game. But there is a scenario where I feel like this could happen. Now, right now, Xbox is currently in the process of buying Activision, Blizzard, and King, and hopefully that will be resolved whether or not they get the studios or not in the next 6 months, hopefully. But what happens if they decide to go ahead and buy that studio, Platinum Games, And now, since Microsoft is able to control a lot more variables when it comes to Platinum Games making Scalebound, they're more comfortable greenlighting that game again because they actually own the studio and they can control a little bit more on what goes on over there. I don't know, you know, I've always been a very blatant person when it comes to Platinum games. I don't think they make the world's worst games. I'm just not the biggest fan of their games, but I will admit that they make good games. I've always felt like their issue is they make too many games, and games that aren't necessarily contributing to them in their name. I feel like they do a lot of stuff just to keep the lights on. And if you would get behind a publisher such as Microsoft, maybe that would eliminate some of that, where they can work on 1 or 2 games and not 5 to 6, and make 2 quality good games instead of 1 quality good game and like 5 or 6, mediocre average games. And I wouldn't even say that. I actually played their core game because I really enjoyed that game. Now look, was that amazing? No, by any means. Would that sell consoles? No, by any means. But I do feel like Platinum at their core and Platinum doing what they do best could easily be something that Microsoft can use to their advantage. Who knows what this has happened? I'm not going to say that, Xbox era and Nick, it's kind of hit and miss with them sometimes. But what I will say is they do have connections. But I want people to realize that when people talk to these industry people and they get these scoops, a lot of the times it's so far out that stuff can easily change and variables can change. And I think this might be one of those things too, where maybe conversations was happening to bring Scalebound back, and maybe it does come back, or maybe, which is probably more realistic, in the next 6 months they decide that's probably not the direction we want to do. We want to put our money and focus on something else. But put in the comment section below, do you guys are looking forward to something like Scalebound? I actually feel like if they did do that, it would be a huge moment. Imagine E3 they end with a Scalebound trailer. That would be gigantic. That would probably steal the show away. But put in the comment section below what you guys think. Do you think this is something that you guys want? I'm curious to hear you guys' opinion. Until next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace.